Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet this halter bralette. I've included information in the description below that includes sizing details, materials needed. I'm also going to be linking the written pattern once it is available. That will also be in the description below. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make our starting loop. This is how I make mine. You can make it however you like, but I've also got some links below for some stitch tutorials, including the starting loop. Let's make our chain. You're just going to yarn over, pull through the loop, yarn over, pull through the loop. You're going to go ahead and work this till a chain of 12. This is for a size women's medium. If you're looking to make a different size, you can have a look in the description below for some of the sizing help that I have included there. All right, so once you complete that chain of 12, we're going to start working into the second chain from our hook. We're going to work a single crochet, so you're just going to push your hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. And we're going to go into that next chain, work another single crochet, and we're just going to go ahead and work single crochets all the way down to the end of the row. So go ahead and finish working your single crochets till the end, and then come on back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now that we're here at the end of the row, we're going to work another 2 single crochets into that last stitch. So you'd have a total of 3 single crochets in the last stitch of your row, allowing our work to turn clockwise so we could work back down the other side of our starting chain. Okay, so we're going to just work 1 single crochet back down all those chains to the end of the row, so a total of 10 stitches is what you should have going back down this side. So by the end of this row, your stitch count should now be a total of 23. All right, so go ahead and come back. All right, so here we are at the end of row 1. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work to begin row 2. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the first 11 stitches. So just go ahead and you're going to work 1 single crochet into each of those first 11 stitches, and then come back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now we're here at the peak again where our work is going to start to turn. We're going to work 3 single crochets into that next stitch there. So you worked 1 single crochet into each of the first 11 stitches of the row. Now in this following stitch, we're working 3 single crochets. And then going back down the other side, we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of those last 11 stitches of the row. And by the time you get to the end of this row, you should have a total of 25 stitches. And when you get to the end, come on back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. So you can pause the video, finish working these stitches, and then come back. All right, so chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to begin row 3. We're going to single crochet once into each of the first 12 stitches. Okay, so just go ahead and work 1 single crochet into each of those 12. And then once you get to that middle stitch there at the top, you could use a stitch marker if you like. You don't have to if you're just going to keep track of the stitch count, but it could be handy too, helpful when you use a stitch marker. When you get there to that top part, you're going to work 3 single crochets into that one stitch right there at the top in the middle. And then you're going to be working 1 single crochet into each of the last 12 stitches. So you should have had 1 single crochet into each of the first 12, 3 single crochets into that next stitch, and then 1 single crochet into each of the last 12 stitches. And by the end of this row, you should have a total of 27, and then come back. Okay, so chain 1 and turn our work. We're going to begin row 4. And we're just slowly increasing here. So we're going to single crochet once into each of the first 13 stitches. So go ahead and just work 1 single crochet into each of the first 13 stitches and then come back. Okay, and then working into that 14th stitch, we're going to work 3 single crochets. Okay, and then you're going to be working back down the other side of your work, and by the end of this row you should have a total of 29 stitches. So go ahead and finish that row. When you get to the end, come back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now we're at the end. We're going to chain 1, turn our work to begin row 5, and we're going to single crochet once into each of the first 14 stitches. All right, so go ahead and work 1 single crochet into each of the first 14 stitches. And then of course, when we get to that 15th stitch, we're going to be working 3 single crochets into that 15th stitch. So 1 single crochet into each of the first 14, 3 single crochets into that 15th stitch, and then 1 single crochet back down the other side into each of the last 14 stitches. And by the end of this row, you should have a total of 31 stitches. So go ahead and work on that and then come back when you're at the end of the row. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin row 6. We're going to single crochet once into each of the first 15 stitches. So just go ahead and work 1 into each of the first 15 and then come back. Okay, and then here at the top, working into our 16th stitch, we're going to be working 3 single crochets into that 16th stitch. And then we're going to work back down the other side, 1 single crochet into each of the last 15 stitches. By the end of this row, you should have a total of 33. So go ahead and continue working till you get to the end of the row. You'll chain 1, turn your work, and then come back. Okay, so let's chain 1, turn our work. We're going to begin row 7. We're going to single crochet once into each of the first 16 stitches. Just getting some more yarn here. All right, so go ahead and work your 1 single crochet into each of the first 16 stitches. Okay, into that 17th stitch right at the top at the peak there, we're going to work 3 single crochets just like all the other rows, and then you're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the last 16 stitches back down to the end. And by the end of this row, you should have 35 stitches. So go ahead and finish this row, and when you get to the end, come back and we'll work on the next row. All right, so chain 1, turn your work. We're going to begin row 8. We're going to single crochet once into each of the first 17 stitches. And then when you get up to the top there at the peak at that 18th stitch, you're going to work 3 single crochets into that one. So 1 single crochet into each of the first 17, 3 single crochets right here in the 18th stitch, and then 1 single crochet into each of those last 17 stitches, and then come back and we'll move on to the next row. We're almost done our increasing rows. Still have a couple more to go. All right, so chain 1, turn your work. We're going to begin row 9. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each of those first 18 stitches. Okay, and then when you get to the 19th stitch, you're going to work 3 single crochets and then 1 single crochet into each of the last 18 and then come back. Okay, chain 1, turn your work. We're going to begin row 10. This is our last increase row for this size that we're working on. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the first 19 stitches. We're going to single crochet 3 times into that 20th stitch at the top. And then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the last 19 stitches to the end. By the end of this row, you should have 41 stitches. So let's go ahead, pause the video, go finish that up, this row, and then come back and we will move on to the next step. Okay, so here we are, we're done with our increasing rows. So now we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. You're going to chain 1, turn your work 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around, chain 1, turn your work. Go ahead and do that for 3 rows in total. and then come back and I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now that you finished those rows, what you're going to do at the end here is chain 1 and then turn your work so that now you're working on the bottom. So we're going to work evenly across the bottom of our cup here. So just single crochet evenly all the way along the bottom, and by the end of this row you should have a total of 24 stitches. So go ahead and just finish single crochet evenly all the way across the bottom and then come back. Alright, so now that you've finished single crocheting evenly across the bottom, we're just going to fasten off, you're going to fasten it off there and repeat these steps for the other cup. So go right back to the beginning, repeat again, and then come back and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now you finished both. Now we're going to move on to the next step here. So connecting and working the band. So what we're going to do, grab your yarn and make another starting loop again. Go ahead and get the loop onto your hook, and you're going to work a chain of 30. Now this chain that we're working on right now, it matters because you don't want it to be like fully closed at the back, but you don't want it too open. Well, I mean, you can have it completely open if you want it backless. But basically we're going to be working on strings to weave in and out. So when you finish that chain of 30, all right, you were going to grab one of the cups that we just finished working on, and we're going to connect with a slip stitch into the bottom corner of one of our cups. So just slip stitch to connect it to the chain that we have just started working on here. All right, and now we're going to slip stitch into every single stitch across the bottom. Right, so just pull right through your loops. So we're going to slip stitch into every single stitch all the way across the bottom. So just push your hook in and pull right through your loops. Slip stitch all the way into every single stitch all the way across the bottom and then come back. Okay, so here we are working our last slip stitch of the first cup. Now we're going to go grab the other one and then connect it with a slip stitch into the very bottom corner of the other cup. So it can be a little bit awkward. As you can see, I'm struggling a little here. Okay, so go ahead, push that hook through, grab your working yarn, and you're just going to slip stitch. So just yarn over your hook and pull it right through the loop, the first loop on the second cup that you're going to be working into, and then right through the loop on your hook, and continue on with your slip stitches all the way across the bottom of the other cup. So go ahead and work your slip stitches all the way across the bottom of this other side, and then come back when you get to the end. Okay, so now we're going to chain 31, because at the end of this chain we're going to start working into the second chain from our hook, so we're going to want both sides to have 30. So go finish your chain and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished that second chain of 31 there, we're going to begin working in our second chain from the hook. We're going to single crochet. So you're going to single crochet into each chain all the way down until you get to the beginning of the cup. So go ahead and work one single crochet into each of these 30 chain spaces and then come back. Okay, so now we're here at the cup and we're going to be working single crochets into these spaces below the row that we just worked on. So we're actually working, the row we just finished was slip stitches all the way across. We're actually working into the single crochets that we had done when we single crocheted evenly across the bottom of the cups. So you're actually working into 2 rows down. So go ahead and work your single crochet stitches all the way down into every single stitch all the way down the bottom edge of the cup of both sides. And then you're going to continue on single crocheting all the way down the other chain. I just want to let you see how that looks there. So see, it gives a little bit of a more like reinforced band under the bust. So it's It's just a better finish, I find. So go ahead and continue on with your single crochets all the way down completely across the bottom of both cups and then all the way down your other chain. So when you finish your single crochets all the way down, come back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so here we are ready to start our next row. So we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. And we're going to work a double crochet into every single stitch all the way down. So yarn over, push your hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2. If the double crochet stitch is moving a little bit too quickly for you, there is links in the description below to my stitch tutorials. So go ahead and work your double crochet all the way down to the other end and then come back. Okay, so now we're going to begin our shell stitch row. It's a 2-row repeat. So you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the first stitch. The chain 2 in this row in the shell stitches is counting as a double crochet. So work 2 double crochets in the very first stitch. This makes a half shell. Okay. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and in that following one, we're going to work a single crochet. We're going to skip the next 2, and in the third one there, we're going to work 5 double crochets. That's a full shell stitch. Okay, so once you finish that full shell, you're going to skip the next 2, single crochet into the following, and you're just going to continue on all the way down the row just like this. So skip the next 2, work another 5 double crochets in the following. After that, you'll skip the next 2, work a single crochet. Skip the next 2, work 5 double crochets. You're going to continue on alternating all the way to the end of the row and then come back. Okay, so now at the very end of our row, we're going to work a half shell, so 3 double crochets. And this will end the first row of our 2-row repeat. All right, so now we're going to chain 1, turn our work. In the first stitch, we're going to single crochet. And then we're going to skip 2. In the next one, we're going to work our full shell stitch. So 5 double crochets in that single crochet stitch. Okay, then we're going to skip 2, work a single crochet on the top of our shell from the last row. Skip 2, work 5 double crochets into the single crochet between the shells from the previous row. You're going to go ahead and continue on all the way down this row, exact same as the last row as far as skipping 2, work 5 double crochets, skip 2, work a single crochet, skip 2, work 5 double crochets, just being sure to work all of your shells between the shells from the previous row. So, and your single crochets will be at the top of the shells from the previous row. All right, skip 2, work your single crochet. So continue to the end and then come back. Okay, so now we're here at the end. We're going to finish off with a single crochet. All right, so now we're repeating. So that was our second one. Now we're going back to our first row of the 2-row repeat. Chain 2, turn your work. The chain 2 counts as a double crochet, so you're going to only work 2 double crochets in the first stitch to make your half shell, and then you will skip 2 and you'll work your single crochet, and you'll skip 2 and you'll work your 5 double crochets, and you'll just keep on continuing. So you're going to repeat this 2-row repeat until you get to a total of 10 rows worked in your band. So basically right now you're actually on row 6. So for this row and then 4 more after, you're going to be working your shell stitches. So once you finish those rows, come back and I'll show you what we'll do next. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take care of the straps. So now you finished your last stitch here of your shell stitch rows. Just pull a little bit of a tail end up, grab your scissors, fasten that off, pull the rest of that tail bit through. You'll be using a yarn needle to hide your tail ends, weaving them in and out of your stitches on the inside of your work to hide and secure. You could do that at the very end. Right now we're going to be working on our strings for here at the back and then for the top to tie around the neck. So grab your hook and just find that very center stitch right at the top of one of the cups. Push your hook through. Go ahead and grab your yarn because we're going to reattach it up there. Make a starting loop and then go ahead and get that on your hook. Pull it through to connect to your work and you're going to begin making your chains. So we're going to chain 50 for each side of the straps that's going to tie around our neck. So go ahead and work your chain 50 and then you'll fasten it off and repeat it for the other cup and then come back and we'll do the straps for the drawstrings at the tie strings at the back. All right, so now for the tie strings at the back, you're just going to connect right at the very, very top of one of the back corners of your band. And so push your hook through there, grab your yarn, make a starting loop, get that onto your hook, and then for the ones at the back, we're going to chain 60. So pull that through the opening there, chain 60, and then fasten it off, and you're just going to repeat the same thing for the other side and then come back and I'll show you how we're going to connect them. Okay, so now that you've finished doing your chain for both sides, grab your work and put it together. Okay, so for this part we're going to be making them in a zigzag pattern. So grab the end of one of your straps and you're just going to be going evenly down through the openings. They're just natural openings from the shell stitch rows. So go ahead and push that through. Just make sure that you are lining it up evenly on both sides. So I like to go across with one and then across with the other. Line it up and make sure that it's matching on both sides. And you're just going to go ahead and continue on weaving in and out through the openings evenly all the way down. And once you finish weaving those tie strings in and out all the way down, when you get to the bottom, you can see it's a beautiful finish. I love that crisscross effect at the back. And you're just going to grab your yarn needle, weave your tail ends in and out of some of the stitches on the inside of your work to hide and secure, and you're done. I hope that you've enjoyed this pattern. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and have a look at the links in the description below.